Right. Hello everyone. Is everyone hearing me correctly? Yeah? Great. My name is Julien Malka. I am a PhD student at Telecom Paris, and I'm doing software supply chain security. I'm also an XOS developer, but what I'm going to talk to you about today has nothing to do with this. I'm going to talk about a weekend project I did that is called Linkal, and about deficiencies I see in the public calendars ecosystem. I'm running with a pretty adversarial screen resolution, so if at some point the slides are completely broken, I will try to describe what you're supposed to see. Right, so what I'm going to talk to you about today is what I think is problematic in the public calendars and in the calendar ecosystem for collaboration. And I'll explain motivating situation that made me do this weekend project, and then I explain the two software we came up with to solve this situation. Right. So I think public calendars are sometimes, or calendars in general, sometimes a bit painful to interact with. And the problem I saw when I started thinking about this is when you have a public calendar and you want to follow this calendar on your calendar client, there's different things that your calendar client can do. Let's say you want to, it can maybe have the capability to import some ICS files, so event files, in bulk, but then it will not do anything more with this ICS file than display them to you, and it will not, for example, subscribe to the updates of these events, and will not continue to fetch new events as they come forward. There is the intermediate layer that will fetch the updates, so if your event gets updated, change location or something like that, some calendar clients will update them, and some will be the nice player that do everything that you want, is basically fetch new events as they come into your calendar. The other problem that I think is big, is that calendar providers are not always nice with the possibility to export your calendars as public calendars that other can follow. Sometimes they make it very complicated to find the actual option to export these public calendars, and make it complicated for people using other calendar software or providers to actually subscribe to your calendars. And I think also the calendar ecosystem is lacking some nice to have features that would make life easier. So I think public calendars are not easily composable. It's not easy to take a few public calendars and merge them into one collection of calendars, which is a nice thing that you can want to do when for example, you want to follow all events about, for example, let's say in XOS, because I'm an XOS developer, in your region, and you have several entities that organize these events. And they all have a calendar, and what you would like to do is maybe do some curation of these calendars and propose a collection of calendars that other NixOS users might want to follow to get all the events in one place. This is not easily done. And the other thing that I think would be really nice is filtering of events in calendars. So just like you are able easily to do filtering of emails, why not be able to filter from calendars you follow events that are relevant to you? For example, events happening in certain geographic area or at a certain given date or hour. That would be really nice, and this is also very complicated to do, I think. So all this thinking came from a concrete situation where at my school there is a lot of different associations that all organize their own stuff, and they all maintain some kind of place where they put all the events that they organize. Sometimes it's a calendar, sometimes it's just a plain web page that you cannot do much with. Sometimes it's just send emails. but there were no central place where you could just see all that get organized on the campus and be informed that way. So we had like a first iteration of solution for this this problem. The first software that got developed at my in-house developed at my school was called Metis. Metis is just a web service where there is some kind of interface. I don't know if you see it correctly, but it's just an interface where it shows all the events from all the calendars. But it's really nice, and it was a first step in the right direction. But what you can do with this interface, you can ask it to export ICS files, so you can import all these events into your calendar client. But what you can't do is ask it to act as a CalDAV server and add it to your calendar client and have on your phone or your computer all the events getting updated in real time and basically be able to follow all these events from all this association without action on your part. So when I saw that, I was like, I kind of want this to be a CalDAV server. So I created Linkal. So Linkal is a weekend project, and it does exactly that. It takes this idea and implements it as a CalDAV server. So the design goals when I try to think about Linkal is like, I wanted to basically do a CalDAV server that will display several calendars coming from different places into one collection. So for the client, it looks like it's your collection of calendars that you're importing, but actually all these calendars are hosted on different places. The other design goal that I wanted is like to be able to do some processing locally, that Linkal be able to process in a way or another the events, so that we can have at some point maybe like the filtering features that I was talking to you about. Okay, so in the first iteration of this when I was thinking and trying to implement this, my first iteration of my first idea was like, okay, I'm going to implement this in Rust because why not? And actually I wanted to learn Rust at the time. And it's going to be simple. I'm going to use some Rust libraries that act as CalDAV clients. So we have like mini CalDAV or Kitchen Fridge. And these libraries are going to perform the request to the underlying calendars. And this part is kind of like logical and easy. But the problem is that you also have to implement all the WebDAV, CalDAV specification on the other side. So you have to implement a HTTP server that implements all the endpoint and all the specification of the WebDAV, CalDAV specification, and then you have to get all the calls and rewrite them in terms of function calls of these libraries. So the problem here was like it's kind of like a bit too painful to do because the CalDAV WebDAV specification is very big and a bit complicated, and it was a lot of things to do just for a weekend project. So I was like, this is too complicated, too painful. There has to be something else. In the second iteration, I was like, this time I want to implement as little as possible of the WebDAV CalDAV specification and still get something working. And the idea here is like we are going to rely on the clients. So the CalDAV clients, they know how to do to format correctly the request. And the CalDAV servers, the underlying servers that we were trying to aggregate, they also know how to answer these requests. So basically somebody did the job for me. And what I need to do is only like forward the appropriate request and the appropriate body to these underlying calendars, get the answer, and maybe do some kind of modification at some point in the answers. But we try to keep it as a minimum. So what we see here is we have the client connect to Linkal, and then Linkal forwards the request to the underlying calendars. Then the answers come back, and then we forward back the answer to the client So we kind of act as a proxy. And at this point, some processing can happen of the request, some filtering, and some minimal modification needs to be done. Okay, so if we start to go into the depth of the subject, we have two kinds of requests that we need to handle. So, the first kind is like requests that the client is going to send us to discover the calendars that are inside the collection. And this we kind of have to, this is the part we have to implement ourselves, because we cannot forward this request to the underlying calendars. It would make no sense. And the second type of request is the one that once the client has acquired has a list of all the calendars that are in the collection that we are trying to give it to him, then it can query the individual calendars, and this we can completely just forward the request to the underlying calendars and practically do nothing on them. Okay, so I'll try to give you an insight on how this can work. We have in a CalDAV client, what you do is you connect to you write down the URL of the server and the username and the password, and you try to query the WebDAV server to ask what is the calendar home for this user or for this principal. And so we implement one endpoint that is called principals Linkal. So Linkal is the name of the user you should provide to your CalDAV client, and then it will try to query this path. And what CalDAV clients are going to send is called like prop find request. It's property find request, and it will ask for this specific property, calendar home set. It will ask for a lot of different properties that we don't really care about, but at some point it will ask for this property. And when it does, we answer that it should go and look at this path, /cals. And so when it behaves correctly, this is what it does. So the next call the CalDAV clients do, they go to this path because they know this is the collection route for our calendars, and it will try to now find out what are the calendars that are in this collection. So it queries this path, and at this point, I tried to implement also this path by try to guess what properties we should send back to the client at this point. But it was also too painful, so I took another direction. Instead, I forward the requests that the client sent me to all the underlying calendar, and they all send me an answer, and I aggregate the answer, and this is what I send back to the client. So now the clients know basically all the calendars that are in this collection. And we have to do some kind of hijacking of the answer so that we modify some of the fields. And the most important field, so there is a lot of cosmetic fields that you can modify, but the most important field that we need to modify is the URL of each calendar. So basically, each underlying server here, when they answer to the request, they will say, find this calendar, this specific calendar at this specific URL, which is, they will give their URL, right? So we have to change this so that it corresponds to where we can answer the request for this specific calendar. So we change the URL for each calendar to /cals / the name of the calendar. And so now the CalDAV client has a list of URL for each specific calendar. And it will query these URLs to fetch the events. And so now this is the part where we just shamelessly just forward these requests to the underlying servers, acting as a man in the middle. And again, when the response comes, then we can do some little modification, and we can do some cosmetic modification, like change the color of the calendar as it should appear on your client. So it may be possible that you try to aggregate several calendars that have the same color. So you want to do some modification in Linkal, so that when they appear, the collection appears on the clients, they all have different colors or nice colors. So as a little working example, sorry. Let's say I'm like I want to offer an XOS calendar to the user that aggregates several different calendars that are offered by different entities. And I have like 3 entities. So for example, Degenum, which is like an association that can offer NixOS meetups. Let's say a school can offer NixOS courses, and there is some Nix parties, which are like, let's say, very weird things organized by Nix people. That is also in this third calendar. And so here I have 3 different calendars in 3 different hosters. And so the way it works is I have to create like a JSON file that basically states which are the calendars I want to integrate in my aggregated collection. So I just list them like so. Then I just run Linkal with this specific calendar.json file, and it gives me a Linkal server. So basically, if you want to try at some point during the day and tell me that it doesn't work on your specific client, or that it does work, I don't know, the server is currently live. But what you get if you are using macOS or iOS like I was when I worked on this project is you add a CalDAV collection, and you just specify the URL that I gave you and the user Linkal. And what it gives you is one calendar, one collection that has these 3 calendars, and that will display basically the events that are in these calendars. And whenever like the underlying entities add new event to these calendars, it will update and be available in your client directly. This is also working on Thunderbird, and I don't really know about other clients. And now let's talk about what I would like to do in the future. So as I told you, one of the goals of this project is to also have some kind of filtering feature where you can say, oh, I'm only interested in events happening in, let's say, this city, or happening on Tuesday night or whatever. And currently, the way Linkal is implemented is that you can do that. You could go in the Rest code base and implement the filters yourself, which is admittedly not a great user experience. So what I think I want to do, if I ever get some time, is kind of devise like a domain-specific language where you can write some filtering expressions, and for your calendars. So you could say it would have the expressivity to express basically the kind of filter or rules that I just told you about. And then you would way on like upload this expression to Linkal, and it would do the filtering before the events come to your calendar client. The other thing that I want to improve is that like Linkal is currently only able to serve one calendar collection, and one improvement that I would like to do is have it be multi-tenancy, so it could host as many calendar collection as needed, and have like some kind of web interface where you could upload this expression in this domain-specific language to define this new calendar collection. And the last thing that I want to say is that I think maybe this kind of filtering idea could be also in the future accepted by CalDAV servers, and so maybe enter in some standardization. Thank you for your attention. Linkal is available on GitHub at this URL, and if you have any question, I would be glad to answer them. Yes.
Hello. 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 First, as someone who's dealt with a lot of calendar hell, I appreciate the effort you're putting into this project. And my second question, my question is there any sort of write functionality? Forgive me if you covered this early, but if you're just passing things in, proxying them, if you have the appropriate credentials, can you not could you add events to these collective calendars, or is it a sort of read-only setup?
You mean can Linkal add events?
Yeah, can you add events through Linkal, or can
you could do that? Yes, there is no limitation that you. But what kind of events would you? I mean, what's the use case? Like you're managing a collection and you want one more event to appear to the people that are following this collection?
Yeah, or maybe the people who are subscribing to, or people who are receiving these events say, hey, I want to have an unofficial after party. I'm adding it after this main event. Other people can see it.
So the immediate answer I can give to this is if you really, as a collection manager, want to add some events, you could add your own calendar that you manage and add the event to these underlying calendars, and it will just work. There is no real limitation that you couldn't do it directly in Linkal, but I think like in terms of user experience, there is no real interface where you could do this easily.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the talk. Have you considered aggregating from social media like Facebook or similar?
Sorry, I didn't hear very well.
Oh, sorry. Have you considered aggregating from social media like Facebook or similar? Would this also work?
I have not considered this yet. I know that, this could totally be an option. Linkal is currently a very rough prototype. And what I want to do is add some other ways to integrate events that are not directly from CalDAV servers. Mostly, like the priority is adding events from endpoint that just serves ICS files, which is like I know some people ask for this. But then adding some events from sources that aggregate some events like social media is also interesting, and I will consider that.
Other questions? No. Okay. Thank you, Julien. So while we